Hi everyone, my name is Anita Ladhani. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and an energy practitioner. And today I want to talk to you about this concept of surrendering when it comes as an act of faith. So surrendering is often looked at as giving up, as a way of sort of accepting failure. But that's not what surrendering is at all. Surrendering to me is the ultimate sign of strength. Surrendering to me is the ultimate sign of faith. So what does it mean when you surrender as an act of faith? Or surrender in a loving relationship? So let me explain the two. So I'm going to talk about surrendering as an act of faith. So considering you believe in a higher power, life happens to all of us, right? And how do we respond? Whatever the worries are, whatever the difficulties are, whatever the challenges are in life, how do we choose to respond? We hopefully turn to prayer. Hopefully we turn to, taking some action. But we also, I think, tend to worry a lot, right? We say, yes, God, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you, but I want this result. We say we trust God, but we are dictating what outcome we want. Instead, why not just surrender your problem to God? Do what you need to do. Be proactive. Surrendering is not complacency. Surrendering is not just sitting back and sort of, tucking your arms under your hands, under your arms, shoulder pits, and not doing anything about it. Surrendering is just trusting that God will lead you, that you are being protected, that you are being taken care of, that no matter how your life is unfolding, it's unfolding because it's perfectly designed to help you learn and grow. There's so many examples that come to mind, and I've used plenty of these in previous talks, but this one, warrants repetition. So, there was a storm coming in, right? And the weatherman was predicting floods. And so evacuation was announced in a neighborhood, in a city, and people started, packing up their bags and leaving town. So the neighbors came knocking at the door and said, hey, Anita, bye, why don't you come on, pack up, let's go, And Anita said, no, I'm going to stay here because my God has promised me that my God will protect me, and I'm going to stay here and trust that my God will take care of me. So the man leaves, the neighbor leaves, so, the rain starts and the water rises, and, Anita has to evacuate from the top. She can't go anywhere, so she goes to the second floor. The water's filled up, and so a canoe, there's so much water that, everything is underwater, where they're now using canoes to come, evacuate whoever's left over. And so the rescue team comes by in a canoe, and it's, they say to Anita, come on, let's go. This is dangerous. We need to leave. And Anita goes, no, I don't need your help. Thank you very much. My God is going to, rescue me. So they said, oh, you silly old crazy woman, you're going to drown. And she goes, no, my God's going to rescue me. Well, the water rises and rises and rises. And so Anita ends up on top of the roof. And a helicopter comes by. It's like the final sort of, rescue going on attempt. And they go, come on, we're going to throw you, a little, rope. Come on up. And Anita goes, no, I don't need your help. My God is going to rescue me. And sure enough, they leave her and they go, and the water ends up rising to the point where everything is underwater, and Anita ends up drowning, and dies. And then she goes to heaven, and she is really upset with God, and she says to God, you promised me you were going to rescue me. What happened? I surrendered to your will, and I trusted you. What happened? And God says, really? I sent you your neighbor. I sent you the canoe. I sent you the helicopter. What else did you want me to do? Why didn't you go on any of those, right? And so surrendering, the reason I explained that is surrendering is not just giving up and doing nothing about it. That's not what surrendering is. Surrendering is being proactive, but being unattached to the outcome of how things work out. Surrendering is literally like, when someone is, say you're under arrest, or you're in a situation where, you have to sort of surrender. What's the universal sign for surrendering? It's hands up, right? Hands up. I give up. It's like, okay, I give up. I'm done. You win, right? And I love the Christian church, and I love, the literal act of surrendering, and I see this in every faith. There is an actual act of worship, of prayer, of sajda that represents to me the ultimate act of surrendering. So in Christianity, when you go to church, you'll see, Christians during worship literally just give their hands up and be like, I give up. I surrender, God, take over. And they've got a lot of beautiful worship songs literally that say, I surrender. I surrender, you take over. Now, similarly in Islam, as a Muslim, when I go to Jamaat Khana, if I go to the mosque, when we go down in sajda, which is prostration, to me, that is an act of surrendering, right? It's just going, I surrender completely. I bow down to you and I surrender and take over. Now, whether you physically do that, I think surrendering is an attitude. Surrendering is an act of faith. Surrendering is saying, I trust you. Bottom line, I trust you, God. Because there's a really nice Dandipani, I think, the monk, the Dandipani has, given many, 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 many talks. And one of his talks, he talks about this. He says, when you have a problem and you worry about it, is that going to change the outcome? No. So then why worry, right? And he goes, when you have a problem and, whether it's good or bad, does your worrying influence it one way or the other? This is pretty much what he's saying. And the real response is, your worrying about it is not going to influence the result of the problem. Yeah, your being proactive may influence the result. Your prayers may influence the result. But you just sitting and worrying about something is not going to influence the result of what is going to may or may not happen. Ultimately, it ends up increasing your stress levels. And not only that, remember, thoughts are powerful. What we focus our thoughts on expand in our life. We literally, thoughts create. So if you understand that concept, then you're going to be very, very mindful of what you think about. So worrying is, to me, a completely... I think worrying is completely useless. It's completely, I think worrying is like the opposite of faith. Because if you worry, and when you worry, to me, like, that's a declaration saying, I don't really trust you, so I'm just going to sit and worry about it. And a lot of people I know, relatives, family members, friends, they worry and they actually end up getting sick. They get themselves sick. Worrying a lot of times shows up as diabetes. When someone has a lot of worrying about stuff, and they have a lot of sorrow, a lot of times they end up getting diabetes, because that energy of worry that's unresolved ends up metastasizing as diabetes, and other diseases, not just that. So to me, release your worry, walk in faith, pray about it, and just surrender to God. Because again, ultimately, whatever's going to happen is going to happen regardless of you worrying about it. So why worry? Just trust, just have faith and surrender and accept that whatever is happening is unfolding for the higher good of everyone involved. Even though it may not seem that way, just trust that it's unfolding, and, accept it and pray and ultimately surrender. I hope this has been helpful. As always, love and light. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.